Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English Open Talk. I'm Rose, and I hope you're having a good day. Sometimes one small moment can suddenly become an emergency.
Yeah, and in that moment, you may not know what to do first. Your mind can get a little confused.
That actually happened to my neighbor last Sunday night. She was sitting in her living room when she suddenly heard a loud crash outside.
Oh, that must have scared her. Did she go outside or did she call someone first?
Well, at first, she just froze for a few seconds. Then she walked to the window and looked outside.
Yeah, I think I would do the same thing. You hear a big sound and your first thought is, what was that?
She moved the curtain and looked across the street. A dark car had left the road and stopped near a big tree.
Wow, so it really was a crash. Could she see anyone inside the car?
She could see a man in the driver's seat, but he was not getting out. One front light was still on, and there was a little smoke near the hood.
Okay, yeah, that would make me nervous. At that point, I think I would call 911.
Sarah thought the same thing. She picked up her phone and, she told me later that her hands were shaking a little.
I can understand that. People say just call 911, but when you really need to do it, it probably feels very different.
Sarah dialed 911 and pressed call. Someone answered quickly, and the first question surprised her.
What did the dispatcher ask her first?
The dispatcher asked for the address of the emergency. Sarah expected to hear what happened, so she had to think for a second.
Actually, that makes sense. If the call suddenly stops, they still need to know where the emergency is.
Right. Sarah said, "I'm at 428 Pine Street. The crash is across from my house."
That is simple English. She did not need some long, perfect sentence.
Then the dispatcher asked what happened, and Sarah said, "A car hit a tree. There is a man inside. He is not getting out."
See, that gives a lot of useful information without making the answer too long.
The dispatcher asked if the man was awake. Sarah looked again, but it was dark and she could not see his face clearly.
So she did not guess, right? She just told the truth about what she could see.
Yeah, she said, "I don't know. I can't see clearly from here."
That is important. If you do not know something during a 911 call, you can simply say you do not know.
The next question was about fire or smoke. Sarah said she did not see flames, but she could see some smoke near the front of the car.
And that probably meant she should not walk close to it.
Exactly. She was already moving toward her front door because she wanted to help the driver.
I get that. You see somebody hurt and your first feeling is, I should go over there.
But the dispatcher told her to stay in a safe place and not go near the car while there was smoke.
That part is interesting. The dispatcher is not only asking questions, they can also guide you while help is coming.
Sarah did not know that before. She thought she would give the address, explain the crash, and then hang up.
Yeah, I think movies make it look like the whole call is 10 seconds long.
Real life was different. The dispatcher stayed on the phone and kept asking short questions while Sarah watched from her front door.
Was the driver moving at all by then?
After a little while, Sarah said, "Wait, I think he's moving now." She could see his head move, but the door was still closed.
That must have been a small relief. At least she knew he wasn't completely still.
Then another neighbor came outside. His name is Mark, and he started walking toward the street.
There's always one neighbor who comes outside before everybody else. Every street has a Mark.
Yeah, Mark is that person. If a trash can falls over at midnight, he probably knows about it.
So Sarah had to talk to the dispatcher and deal with Mark at the same time.
Pretty much. She shouted, "Mark, don't go too close. There's smoke." And then she went back to listening to the phone.
That sounds messy in a very real way. You have noise, people talking, and you're trying to answer questions.
Exactly. Mark kept asking, "Is someone hurt? Did you call 911?" And Sarah finally said, "Give me a second. I can't hear her."
I can picture that. In an emergency, everybody wants information at the same time.
The dispatcher repeated her question. She wanted to know if there were any other cars involved.
Could Sarah answer that one clearly?
Yeah, she said, "No, I only see one car." Then the dispatcher asked if she could see anyone else inside.
That might be harder if the car is dark.
It was. Sarah said, "I think there is one person, but I'm not sure."
I like that answer, because she says what she thinks without acting like she knows for sure.
Right. Then Mark shouted from the sidewalk, "I think somebody is in the back seat."
Oh, wow. So now the situation changed again.
Sarah looked harder, but from her porch, she still could not tell. She told the dispatcher, "My neighbor thinks there may be another person in the car."
That's careful language. She did not suddenly say there was definitely another person.
The dispatcher asked if Mark could see clearly. He said he saw movement near the back window, but he was still standing far away.
So they had useful information, but nobody was making a wild guess.
Exactly. The dispatcher told Sarah to keep watching from a safe place and not to send Mark closer.
Good idea. The last thing they need is another person getting hurt.
Sarah said her heart was beating fast, but the dispatcher's voice stayed calm. That helped her slow down a little.
I think hearing one calm voice would help a lot when everything around you feels confusing.
Then Sarah heard sirens far away. She said, "I can hear them now. I think they're close."
I bet that was the first moment she felt like, okay, help is really coming.
Yeah. The dispatcher asked her to stay on the line and watch for the emergency vehicles.
Who arrived first, police or the ambulance?
A police car came first. A fire truck and an ambulance came right behind it.
That quiet street probably changed very fast with all those lights and sirens.
Sarah said 1 minute it was dark and quiet, and the next minute there were red and blue lights everywhere.
Did she end the 911 call when she saw the police officer?
Not right away. She told the dispatcher, "An officer is here now," and stayed on the line for another moment.
That makes sense. The dispatcher probably wanted to be sure someone was really at the scene.
A few seconds later, the dispatcher told her that responders were there and she could end the call.
How long had Sarah been on the phone by then?
She thought it was 10 or 15 minutes. When she checked later, it was only 5 minutes.
Wow, fear really changes time. 5 minutes can feel very long when you're watching something serious happen.
That's exactly what she said. Every question and every little sound felt slow.
What did the firefighters find when they got to the car?
The driver was awake but hurt, and, well, Mark actually noticed something important.
There really was somebody in the back seat?
Yeah, a teenage boy was sitting back there. He had a cut on his forehead and looked scared, but he was awake.
So that information about the back seat was useful after all.
Very useful. The firefighters checked both people and started getting them out safely.
Did Sarah go over once the firefighters arrived?
No, she stayed near her porch because the police had blocked part of the street.
That was probably best. Once the professionals arrive, you do not need to stand in the middle of their work.
An officer came over after a few minutes and asked Sarah if she was the person who called 911.
I guess he wanted to know what she had seen before they arrived.
Yeah, she explained that she heard the crash, looked outside, saw the car, and then made the call.
Did the officer ask if she actually saw the car hit the tree?
He did, and Sarah said no. She only heard the crash.
That's another good example of not guessing. She did not say the driver was speeding if she didn't see it.
Right, she only gave facts. Later, Mark had plenty of theories, haha, but Sarah did not put those into the 911 call.
I knew Mark would become the neighborhood detective by morning.
He did. The next day, he was explaining how he thought the car came around the corner too fast.
Please tell me somebody asked if he actually saw the crash.
Sarah did. She said, "Mark, you were asleep when it happened."
That is a very strong answer to his investigation.
He still said, "Yeah, but I know this street." So, Mark stayed confident.
I respect the confidence even if the evidence is missing.
Sarah was more interested in whether the driver and the teenager were okay.
Did she ever find out what happened to them?
Later, she heard that the driver had a broken arm and some other injuries. The teenager's injuries were less serious, and both survived.
That's a much better ending than I expected when you first said there was smoke.
Yeah. After the emergency teams left, Sarah came to my house because she was still a little shaky.
I can understand that. Your body does not become calm the second the ambulance drives away.
She sat in my kitchen, drank some water, and said, "I don't really want to be alone yet."
And I guess that is when you heard the full story.
Yeah, I tried not to ask too many questions, but, you know me.
I can hear you saying, wait, what exactly did the dispatcher ask first?
That is almost exactly what I asked. Sarah laughed at me and said, "Rose, let me finish."
At least you gave her water before starting the interview.
I did. I am not completely terrible.
So what surprised her the most about calling 911?
The location question. She really thought every 911 call started with, "What is your emergency?"
But in her call, the first thing they wanted was where the emergency was happening.
Right. That made me think about what happens if you are not at home.
Like if you're driving and see an accident on a highway.
Exactly. You may not know a house number, so you give whatever useful location you can.
A highway name, an exit number, or maybe a nearby gas station.
Yeah, you can say, "I'm on Interstate 95 near exit 12," or "I'm outside the Target on Main Street."
That is still easy English. You do not need special emergency words.
Your phone may also give location information, but you should still answer the dispatcher's questions.
Right. Do not just stay silent because you think your phone will tell them everything.
Sarah also said she worried about saying things the wrong way.
That's interesting because English is her first language.
Exactly. Even a native speaker can feel nervous and forget simple things during an emergency.
So a learner should not feel embarrassed if their English gets messy. I mean, when people get scared, even easy words can disappear for a moment.
Not at all. If English is difficult, you can say, "My English is not very good. Please speak slowly." That is why simple practice before an emergency can make you feel a little more ready.
That one sentence can make the rest of the call easier.
And if you don't understand a question, say, "Can you say that again?" Do not pretend you understood if you did not. That can create more confusion.
Sarah actually had to ask for a simpler word once.
So what happened when she asked that?
The dispatcher asked if the driver was responsive, and Sarah said, "Sorry, what do you mean?"
Yeah, responsive is not very beginner-friendly.
So the dispatcher changed the question to, "Is he awake? Is he moving or talking?"
Much easier. Then Sarah could answer without thinking about a difficult word.
Exactly. She said, "I can see him moving a little, but I can't hear him."
That's a good reminder that even native speakers ask people to repeat or explain things.
Definitely. The goal is getting help, not showing perfect grammar.
Imagine somebody recently moved to America and sees a fire in an apartment building.
Their English may suddenly disappear for 5 seconds. Stress can do that.
You study for years, then your brain says, "Sorry, we only remember hello today."
But even then, simple words can work. Fire, third floor, people inside.
It's not a perfect school sentence, but the meaning is clear.
Then the dispatcher can ask questions and help build the information.
I think learners sometimes feel they need to tell the whole story in one long sentence.
Sarah tried that too. She started saying, "I was sitting in my living room, and then I heard this sound, and then I went to the window."
And the dispatcher probably brought her back to the main point.
Politely. She said, "Okay, I understand. Is the driver moving now?"
That's a good example of why emergency calls are different from normal storytelling.
Yeah, important information comes first. The story can come later.
Location, what happened, and what danger is happening right now.
Then the dispatcher asks for more details if they need them.
I also didn't know that help may already be on the way while they're still asking questions.
Sarah didn't know that either. For a moment, she thought all the questions were slowing things down.
But the questions can help police, firefighters, or medical teams prepare before they arrive.
Exactly. If there is smoke, they need to know. If there might be 2 people inside, they need to know that too.
So don't get angry and think nobody is moving just because the dispatcher keeps talking.
Right. Stay with the conversation and answer one question at a time.
Was there one thing the dispatcher said that stayed with her?
Stay safe. Help is coming. She said hearing that made her stop trying to rush toward the car.
That's simple, but I can see why it would matter in the moment.
She wanted to physically help the driver, but going near a smoking car could have made the situation worse.
If she got hurt too, then emergency workers would have another person to help.
Exactly. Sometimes helping means staying safe and bringing the right people.
You don't have to become a firefighter because you made the phone call. Which is good because I wouldn't trust you to become a firefighter in 5 seconds.
Fair. I would need at least 10 seconds and maybe a helmet.
That's not how training works, Jack.
I know. I'll stick with the phone call.
Sarah also noticed that the dispatcher sounded very direct.
Did it feel rude to her?
No, but it was faster and more direct than a normal conversation. The dispatcher said things like, "Stay where you are," and "Do not go near the car."
In an emergency, long, polite sentences probably waste time.
Exactly. Direct does not mean angry. It means they're trying to keep things clear.
That's useful for English learners, too. Don't worry if the dispatcher sounds serious.
And if there is a lot of noise around you, try to hear the call clearly, if you can do that safely.
Sarah had Mark talking in the background, so she learned that one the hard way.
Yeah. At one point, she said, "Mark, please stop talking for a second. I can't hear her."
Honestly, that sounds very polite for somebody in the middle of an emergency.
I told her later that the sentence in her head was less polite.
Yeah, I can believe that completely.
Emergencies can be noisy. You may hear traffic, people shouting, alarms, or sirens.
So you listen carefully, but you still don't walk into danger just to find a quiet place.
Right. Staying safe still comes first.
Did the experience change how she thinks about calling 911?
A lot. Before, she imagined a 10-second call. Afterward, she realized it can be more like a guided conversation.
The dispatcher gets the location, asks what is happening, sends help, and stays with the caller.
And the situation can change while you are talking.
Like when they learned there might be somebody in the back seat.
Exactly. New information can matter, so staying on the line can be important.
What if somebody gets disconnected during the call?
If you can, call again. The dispatcher may also try to call you back.
So keep the phone close if it's safe to do that.
Yeah, Sarah almost put her phone down once without thinking.
Wait, she did that during the call?
She was walking toward the front door and set it on the table for a second.
Stress makes people do funny little things.
Exactly. Real emergencies are not neat. People repeat themselves, forget things, and get distracted.
Which is another reason you don't need to sound perfect.
Right. If your voice shakes, that's okay.
The dispatcher has probably talked to many scared people before.
Sarah said she started the call talking very fast, then slowed down as the dispatcher guided her.
One question, one answer. That seems to be the easiest way.
It is. And if you miss the question, ask them to repeat it.
If you need slower English, say that too.
Nothing about that is embarrassing.
You know, I once called 911 for a bicycle accident, and I did the exact opposite of what we're saying.
Wait, you called 911 before? You never told me this story.
It was years ago. A man fell from his bicycle near a park and stayed on the ground.
Was he awake when you went closer?
He opened his eyes when I spoke to him, but he looked confused.
So you called because you were worried he had hit his head.
Yeah, and I tried to tell the dispatcher the whole story before saying where I was.
I can already hear it. There is this man, and he was riding a bike, and then...
That is almost exactly what I said. The dispatcher politely stopped me and asked where I was.
Did you know the park name?
No, and that was the embarrassing part. For 2 seconds, I was like, I'm at the park.
Very helpful, Jack. I'm sure there is only one park in America.
I know. Then I looked around and saw a street sign at a coffee shop.
So you used those as location information.
Yeah, I said, I'm near the park entrance across from Green Bean Coffee on Lake Road.
That was much better. A landmark can really help when you do not know an exact address.
Then she asked if the man was breathing.
Could you tell if he was breathing?
I could see his chest moving, so I said yes. She told me not to move him and to stay nearby.
That is another example of the dispatcher giving instructions.
I just stayed there and told the man, help is coming, try not to move.
Did he know what had happened?
Not at first. He asked me why he was on the ground, and that made me more worried.
Yeah, I would be nervous too if he could not remember the fall.
The ambulance arrived in maybe 6 or 7 minutes, but it felt much longer.
There is that emergency clock again. A few minutes can feel like forever.
The dispatcher stayed on the phone until the ambulance team reached us.
So your experience and Sarah's were different emergencies, but the basic process was similar.
Very similar. Location, what happened, more questions, then instructions while help was coming.
And neither of you needed fancy English.
Definitely not. In my case, I was probably using worse English than the man on the ground.
At least the dispatcher understood you.
Yeah, that's really the main goal.
Let's imagine one simple situation for listeners. You're in a grocery store and an older man suddenly falls.
People around him are worried and somebody asks you to call 911.
The dispatcher asks where you are. You say, I'm inside the Walmart on Lake Street.
Then you can say, an older man fell down. He's not answering us.
The dispatcher will ask more questions and you answer what you know. If you don't know, say, I don't know. If you don't understand, ask them to repeat it.
And follow the instructions they give you instead of trying random things you saw in a movie.
Yes, watching 3 hospital shows does not make me a doctor.
I'm glad you understand that.
I learned it the hard way from television.
You're probably right. Did Sarah ever meet the driver after the accident?
No, she never met him, but she heard later that he and the teenager were recovering.
I bet that helped her feel better about the whole night.
It did. She had kept thinking about how bad the car looked.
Then her call really mattered.
Yeah, and she didn't need special skills. She noticed the emergency, called, listened, and gave information.
That's probably the biggest message here.
You don't have to solve the whole emergency yourself.
You call the people who are trained to handle it.
And while you wait, you followed the dispatcher's instructions.
I think people sometimes feel useless if they're only standing there with a phone.
Sarah felt exactly that way. She told me, I was just talking while firefighters did everything.
But the firefighters came because somebody made that call.
That's what I told her. Calling was part of the help.
And staying away from the smoke also kept her safe.
Exactly. Helping doesn't mean putting yourself in danger.
Do you think Sarah would feel less scared if she ever had to call again?
She said yes, although she really hopes she never needs to.
I think everyone hopes that.
But now she knows the dispatcher will guide her.
She knows to give the location clearly.
She knows not to guess.
She knows the questions don't always mean help is being delayed.
And she knows she can ask for a question to be repeated.
That's a lot from one 5-minute call.
Yeah, one short call can teach a lot.
Before we finish, I think listeners should practice a few simple emergency sentences.
We can do that, but let's keep it natural, no giant school list.
Fair. If I need medical help, I can say I need an ambulance.
If you see a crash, you can say there's been a car accident.
If someone is hurt, you can say a man is hurt or a woman is hurt.
If there's smoke, say I can see smoke.
If you don't know the exact address, say I don't know the exact address.
Then add something useful, like I'm near the gas station on Main Street.
If you miss a question, say please say that again.
And if English feels difficult, say please speak slowly. My English is not very good.
None of those sentences are hard, but they can be very useful.
That's why I want beginners to remember this. Clear English is more important than perfect English.
Especially when somebody needs help right now.
You can practice saying your home address in English, too. Practice it calmly before you ever need to use it.
House number, street name, city, and state. Say it slowly enough that another person can understand.
And if you travel, keep the hotel name or address in your phone.
That can help in normal situations too, not only emergencies.
Very true. Preparation doesn't mean you expect something bad to happen.
It just means you know what to say if something unexpected happens.
Sarah definitely knows 428 Pine Street very well after that night.
I bet she could say it while sleeping now.
And Mark probably knows everybody's address on the street.
He needs that information for his investigations.
Please stop encouraging him.
I'm only respecting the neighborhood expert.
All right, everyone. I hope Sarah's story helped you understand what can happen when you call 911 in America.
You heard how the call started, what the dispatcher asked, and what happened while emergency teams were coming.
And you also heard that the conversation doesn't need perfect English.
Give clear information, answer one question at a time, and say when you are not sure.
Listen to the dispatcher, stay in a safe place, and do not guess about things you can't see.
And if your English gets messy because you're nervous, that's okay. Real people get messy when they're stressed.
Thank you so much for spending this time with us here on English Open Talk. I hope you learned some useful English through Sarah's story.
Keep listening, keep speaking, and practice a little every day. You don't need perfect sentences to communicate well.
We'll be back with another easy English conversation soon. Until then, take care of yourself and stay safe.
Bye, everyone. We'll talk to you again in the next episode.